أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. من جابر بن عبد الله الأنصاري عن فاطمة الزهراء عليه السلام بنت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله قال: سمعت فاطمة أنها قالت: دخل علي أبي رسول الله في بعض الأيام فقال: السلام عليك يا فاطمة. فقلت: عليك السلام. قال: إني يجد في بدني ضعفا. فقلت له: أعيذك بالله يا أبتاه من الضعف. فقال: يا فاطمة، ائتيني بالكساء اليماني فغتيني به. فأتيته بالكساء اليماني فغتيته به، وصرت أنظر إليه وإذا وجهه يتلاله كأنه البدر في ليلة تمامه وكماله. الله صل على. فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسن قد أقبل فقال: السلام عليك يا أمه. قلت: عليك السلام يا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي. فقال: يا أمه، إني أشم أنك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله. قلت: نعم، إن جدك تحت الكساء. فأقبل الحسن نحو الكساء وقال: السلام عليك يا جداه يا رسول الله، تأذن لي أن أدخل معك تحت الكساء؟ فقال: وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا صاحب حوضي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل معه تحت الكساء. اللهم صل على. ما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسن قد أقبل وقال: السلام عليك يا أمه. فقلت: وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي. فقال لي: يا أمه، إني أشم أنك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله. فقلت: نعم، إن جدك وأخاك تحت الكساء. فدنا الحسين نحو الكساء وقال: السلام عليك يا جداه، والسلام عليك يا من اختاره الله، تأذن لي أن أكون معكما تحت الكساء؟ فقال: وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا شافع أمتي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل معهما تحت الكساء. اللهم صل على. فأقبل عند ذلك الحسن علي بن أبي طالب وقال: السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله. فقلت: وعليك السلام يا أبا الحسن ويا أمير المؤمنين. فقال: يا فاطمة، إني أشم أنك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة أخي وابن عمي رسول الله. فقلت: نعم، ها هو مع ولديك تحت الكساء. فأقبل علي نحو الكساء وقال: السلام عليك يا رسول الله، أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ قال له: وعليك السلام يا أخي ويا وسيء وخليفتي وساهم اللواء، قد أذنت لك. فدخل علي تحت الكساء. ثم أتيت نحو الكساء وقلت: السلام عليك يا فتاه يا رسول الله، تأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ قال: وعليك السلام يا بنتي ويا بضعتي، قد أذنت لك. فدخلت تحت الكساء. اللهم صل على محمد. فلما اكتملنا جميعا تحت الكساء أخذ أبي رسول الله بطرف الكساء وأومى بيده اليمنى إلى السماء وقال: اللهم إن هؤلاء أهل بيتي وخاستي وحامتي، لحمهم لحمي ودمهم دمي، يؤلمني ما يؤلمهم ويحزنني ما يحزنهم. أنا حرب لمن حاربهم وسلم لمن سالمهم وعدو لمن عاداهم ومحب لمن أحبهم. إنهم مني وأنا منهم، فاجعل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورضوانك علي وعليهم، واذهب عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. فقال الله عز وجل: يا ملائكتي ويا سكان السماوات، إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدحية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضية ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا في محبة هؤلاء الخمسة الذين هم تحت الكساء. اللهم صل على. فقال الأمين جبرائيل: يا رب ومن تحت الكساء؟ فقال عز وجل: هم أهل بيت النبوة ومعدن الرسالة، هم فاطمة وأبوها وبعلها وبنوها. اللهم صل على محمد. فقال جبرائيل: يا رب يتأذن لي أن أهبط إلى الأرض لأكون معهم سادسا؟ فقال الله: نعم، قد أذنت لك. فهبط الأمين جبرائيل وقال: السلام عليك يا رسول الله. العلي الأعلى يكرهك السلام ويخصك بالتحية والإكرام ويقول لك: وعزتي وجلالي، إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدحية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضية ولا فلك يدور ولا بحر يجري ولا فلك يسري إلا لأجلكم ومحبتكم، وقد أذن لي أن أدخل معكم فلتأذن لي يا رسول الله. فقال رسول الله وعليك السلام يا من وحي الله إنه نعم قد أذنت لك. فدخل جبرائيل معنا تحت الكساء. اللهم صل على محمد. فقال لأبي إن الله قد أوحى إليكم يقول إنما يريد الله أن يذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. فقال علي لأبي يا رسول الله كل ما لجلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله. فقال النبي والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واستفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفي جمع مشيئتنا محبينا إلا ونزلت عليهم الرحمة وحفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم إلى أن يتفرقوا. فقال علي نظم الله فزنا وفاز أشياتنا ورب الكعبة. فقال النبي ثانيا يا علي والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واستفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفي جمع مشيئتنا ومحبينا وفيهم محموم إلا وفرج الله عما ولا مغموم إلا وكشف الله عما ولا طالب حاجة إلا وقضى الله حاجته. فقال علي نظم الله فزنا وسلنا وكذلك أشياتنا فازوا وسعدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة. الله صل على
Is Ali going to get some more from that side? Or you don't
a message. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد.
Can you please invite? Can you please invite Moulana, Syed, Imran, Qaseem for the last salawat? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad.
Unexpected. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على رسول المسدد والمصطفى الأمجد والمحمود الأحمد سيدنا ومولانا ومولى الكونين وجد الحسن والحسين آني أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين ولعنة الله أعدائهم أجمعين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. قال الله تعالى في الكتاب الكريم فقوله الحق. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ولا تلبسوا الحق بالباطل وتكتموا الحق وأنتم تعلمون. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Thank you very much. We have been discussing the historical, or actually we've been analyzing the historicity of the situation that history gave to the Prophet, his ancestors, and his progeny. Now we have discussed already, we mentioned some Buzurg or some respected people from the Prophet's ancestry. We mentioned about Hazrat Abu Talib, we mentioned about Bibi Khadija Salamullah alayha. And then in the last two lectures, we mentioned about what Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam himself is and what position history has given to him as far as personal character and his personality is concerned. And we were trying to analyze and dissect the situation so that we can challenge history and ask the Muslim Ummah to investigate. See, my lecture will not have an impact on the scholars, because scholars will not say, who is this? He's challenging us. But I am going to actually appeal to all the Muslims who are educated, or would at least call themselves educated, to look into history and see what history has done and whether it was right or wrong. They can decide for themselves because they are educated and they have resources and they can question and research further until and unless their intellect is satisfied. That's my aim here. It's not to convert people at once. Say that nobody has heard this before. No, it's not that. People have heard this before in time, and since the advent of this deen from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he came with the last message, they have heard this scenario, and people have challenged it, sometimes at the expense of their life and their reputation and all that. But it is going to be challenged because the answers have not been found yet. Some people think that they have the answers, but they have not had the opportunity to establish themselves, to give the entire message safely and purposefully to the entire ummah. But most people are not ready to listen to anything else unless it comes from a certain kind of scholars. And then, all the politics comes in and all that. We're not going to discuss all that. So we spoke about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam yesterday. We finished about Rasulullah's, the situation in history that the history is given to Rasulullah. Now, today we're going to start analyzing what history has done to the progeny of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Progeny means people who were born in the family of Rasulullah and the subsequent generations. Okay. Now, first question is that is it important to the fact that there should be respect and dignity, a special place for the progeny of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Is it important? And if it is, then where do I get that from? How am I saying that this should have been there? Well, why it should have been there? What is my basis on which I am challenging this situation in history? And history says that people are saying they said that, like as I mentioned yesterday and day before yesterday, about even Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's just one of us. He's just a human being like us. So what is so special about the progeny of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and where do I get the basis to say that they are special? So let's look at the Quran. The Quran says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that we selected Adam and we selected Ibrahim and we selected the children of Ibrahim and Imran. So that's one place where the Quran says. So that means what? That apart from prophets and messengers, their children have also been selected and chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? And another place it says that we have chosen Nuh and Ibrahim and we have chosen their children to protect the deen and we have given the book to the children. So that means that the deen, the what you call the reins of the religion and the book, because the book is only one, and updated messages have kept coming on with different prophets, different messengers. And the last message, and the last updation of the message came when the Quran was revealed to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? But the book is only one. There's only one deen. Deen Allah is only one. So, but the messages were updated as humanity grew. Now, so then what happens is that Allah is saying that we kept the book and the religion with the children of Ibrahim and Nuh. Now, if there is respect and dignity and special place for the children of Ibrahim, for Imran, then why not the children of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Right? That makes sense that you have somebody, when it's given the last message, you have some people from the children of this prophet as well to take care of the deen and the book. That makes a fair amount of sense. So this is what we are trying to establish here. So now that I've established the basis on which I'm saying that why the children of a prophet or a messenger can be important, we get it from the Quran. The Quran has given ayats or verses to say that the children are important as far as protecting the deen and the book is concerned. So now let's step ahead now and let's come to Rasulullah. We are concerned with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's progeny, the Ahlul Bayt, the Al Muhammad, because we are the Ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? We are the people who follow Rasulullah Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Salawatullah Muhammad wa alaihi Muhammad. Now, who is in the Al or the progeny? Al means children of Rasulullah. Who is considered in the Al? Who is the closest? anybody's for example, any person who has a family, who is the closest to him or her? It is the child. The first generation, the closest to that person is the child that he or she has. And then might come the grandchildren, and then the great grandchildren, the nephews and the nieces, and all these are. Okay. But here, in Rasulullah's case, there is one person who is the closest to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and that is Lady Fatima Zahra sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Lady Fatima Zahra is the part of the all of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Of course, Imam Hassan and Hussain and Lady Zainab and Kulsum, they're all part of the all. But we are starting with the first generation from Rasulullah, and that is Fatima Zahra sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And of course, then the next is like Imam Hassan and Hussain, also are the progeny of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we have to say that the status of Fatima must be something. There must be something in the status of Fatima. So let's see what is the status of Al Muhammad. Now, remember, I'm giving you a reference from the Ahl Sunnah, where one of the great faqih, or faqih means the jurist, or the imam in law. The law, is there, and somebody who is an expert in the law is called a faqih in Islam, which means he's a jurist. He's like a judge. He can make declarations. He can give fatwa. He can establish laws based on the Quran and the Hadith and all that. One of the great jurists in Ahl Sunnah is Imam Shafi. Have you heard of it? There's also a Shafi school of thought. There are 4 schools of law in Ahl Sunnah. One is the Hanafi, the Shafi'i, the Hanbali, and the Maliki. 4. Okay. Imam Shafi was one of the proponents of, he was a great jurist in Ahl Sunnah, and because he was so good at it, that his followers established a school that was based on his fatwa. And he says, pay attention, all of you, this is very, very serious as far as our deen is concerned. I know you're paying attention, but I'm just re-emphasizing the fact that pay attention. So he says that if you do not do durood in the salat on the Al of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, your salat or your prayer is void, incomplete, unacceptable. This is what he is saying. Now, in Shia Islam, there's no confusion about that, whether you have to do salawat on Al Muhammad or not. You have to do salawat on Rasulullah and his Al. He is emphasizing that in his fatwa. And if you do not do it in your salat is the word for prayers, right? Obligatory prayers, or any prayer that we do, whether it is nafilah prayers or any non-mandatory prayers, I mean. So you have to do the salawat for your prayer to be acceptable, to be correct. So there's 2 things here. One is the correctness of the prayer, and the other one is the acceptability of the prayer by Allah subhanahu. If you do the prayer correctly, with all the right pronunciations, the right movements, and the right recitations each and every place, your prayer is correct, but not necessarily is acceptable to Allah subhanahu. That needs a little bit more, but that's a different topic altogether. So we can discuss that. But first, let's focus on doing our prayers correctly. So the Imam of Ahl Sunnah is saying, the Shafi'i Imam, Imam Shafi'i himself is saying that you have to do the durood. Durood is the salawat on Muhammad and Al Muhammad in your prayer for your prayer to be correct. The next stage is acceptability. So forget about that. So if that is the status, that means that it is extremely important to send salawat on the Al of Muhammad, right? The biggest and the best worship is the salat, or the prayers that we do, the formal prayers, the namaz that we do, right? That's the best form of worship. And in that worship, to be acceptable, you have to do the salawat on Al Muhammad. So if the prayer is accepted, this is unanimous in all schools of Islam. If the prayer is accepted, then your other deeds are also accepted. If your prayer is not accepted, you can do as many deeds as you want, it will not be accepted. Now, the important thing now is for the prayer to be accepted, you need to have the love of Muhammad and Al Muhammad and say salawat on both in the prayer. Otherwise, your prayers will not be accepted, and so will your other deeds be rejected. So this is how important and how mandatory it is to say the salawat or the durood on Muhammad and Al Muhammad. This is from the Ahl Sunnah. Now, another unanimous hadith that I can tell you is from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in which he says that don't send me chopped up and broken salawat. What does that mean? So his Sahaba, because like you are inquisitive, what does that mean? His Sahaba or his companions were inquisitive about that. What does that mean? Please explain, Rasulullah, what you mean when you say don't send me chopped up salawat or broken salawat. And Rasulullah told them that a chopped up or a broken salawat is the one in which you send salawat on me and not on my Ahl, not on his children, not on his progeny. That is a broken salawat, it is chopped up. So it is not acceptable. There is no point in sending it to him only. So when you say, that is why we say Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. So many people say only sallallahu alayhi. That is incomplete, that is broken. Because you have to include in the salawat sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. And that is extremely important. And this is from the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So as we discussed, the name that first comes in as far as the progeny of Rasulullah is concerned is his daughter Fatima Zahra salamullah alayha, right? And then the next level is the grandchildren. Now, what is the status of these children of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Let's look at the Quran again and see what the Quran says. Does it say anything or not? And if it says, then what does it say? You might be familiar with all these verses that I'm going to recite to you. Is that in one place the Quran says to Rasulullah, say to them, "Qul la as'alukum alayhi ajran illa al-mawaddata fil qurba." Have you heard this ayat? Which means, yes, some of you have heard, which means that say to them that I don't want any reward from you except that you show extreme love towards my near and dear ones. So who is the nearest one? We have already established that, and this starting with Fatima Zahra salamullah alayha, right? So Rasulullah is saying, I mean Allah is saying to Rasulullah to say to the people that I don't want any reward for whatever I've done for you, for bringing the deen, for telling you how about moralities and laws and piety, all these things that I've told you. Don't want any reward for that. All I want is that you show love and respect and dignity of the deepest level to my near and dear ones. I'll use the term kith and kin. Right, that's one place that the Quran talks about Rasulullah's progeny. And another place which you are very familiar with is also Innama yuridullahu liyuzhibakum rijsa ahlal bayti wa yutahhirahum tatheera. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So that verse you're very familiar with because we recite it every day. Yeah. And once, what does the ayat say? It says that Allah has removed all impurities from you, O Ahlul Bayt, and purified you with the purification that is correct. Brother, please. So now this verse, what it is said here is the fact that we recite it in Hadith Qissa all the time. We recite Hadith Qissa every day, pretty much. But do we understand what we're reciting? That's important. When we say in the Hadith Qissa, this ayat, we are emphasizing, first of all, we recite it for barakah, we recite it for, the rewards and to be, to gain the love and the respect and get closeness to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his holy progeny. So here we have this ayat which has become controversial. Why has it become controversial? I'll tell you what. I don't want to talk about the controversy, but there are two schools of understanding of this verse. Okay, one is where this verse is mentioned, and then one group of people says that okay, this is for the 14 Masumin. This is for the 14 Masumin who are included from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Fatima Zahra salamullah and all the Imams that are there up to Imam Al-Hujjah alayhi salam. Salawat ala Muhammad wa Muhammad. So that is one group of people that say this. Another group of people says Well, it includes the people of the family of Rasulullah, including his wives. That's another understanding of this verse. And there are different lists given of who is included in this verse. So there are lists. There is a list in which Rasulullah is not included in this list as well of Ahlul Bayt. But one person is common in all the lists, and that is Lady Fatima Zahra Salamullah. She is common in all the lists of any group of Muslims who would discuss this aspect of this ayat and say who belongs to this Ahlul Bayt. Everybody who has any kind of list always has one person in it, and that's Fatima Zahra Salamullah. Okay, now that is very clear. So what does this mean? That this verse of purification, which we call Ayatul Tathir in any case, Tathir is the verse of purification, contains, definitely, if it contains anybody else or not, it definitely contains Fatima Zahra Salamullah, which means that Fatima is definitely a purified one. What does it mean, purified one? It's not like, you put like some chemicals and you clean the person up and, that person cannot be touched with any impurities. It's like the spiritual purification. That person does not have any impure qualities, something which you will not like in a person. For example, you don't like somebody who's telling lies. You do not like somebody who's stingy. You don't like somebody who's angry all the time, or even once or twice for that matter. He loses it. So these qualities these bad qualities have not touched Lady Fatima Salamullah alayha. And if she is angry with somebody, that means this is a serious anger. It's not just like, I'm upset because you upset me. It is a serious issue. When she is angry, that means one has to be taking it very, very serious. And what happened? When she made a statement in the court of the caliph of the time, she was asked to provide witnesses and evidence. Now, let me ask you something. If you say something to me, and I say, no, have you got any proof of that? What does the first thing imply? It implies that I do not trust what you're saying unless and until you show me the proof and the evidence to corroborate it. That's what I'm meaning, right? Why do I need proof? If I trust you and you're saying something to me, I said, okay, fine. You said something to me, fine. Because I trust you then. I know that you will not lie and you're a trustworthy person and this and that. But if I say to you, if you get me the proper evidence, if you get me the proper proofs that this phone is yours, it belongs to you only, then I will accept your statement that this is your phone. Otherwise, I will decide who this phone belongs to. Or I can claim this is my phone. So this is the first thing to keep in mind. If somebody needs evidence, that means what? That they do not trust you. Which means what? You might be lying. You might be telling the truth. You might be lying. When somebody, a judge in the court, asks Lady Fatima to say, no, bring some evidence, bring some proof, that means what? You might be telling the truth, you might not be telling the truth. So if you give me some evidences, then I might consider those evidences. You got that? That's one thing. Remember, it is unanimously agreed that this lady is purified from all these rijs, these impurities, these spiritual impurities of any lies, any untruth, whatever. Okay? And then this is what happens. So say salawat from Lady Fatima Zahra Salamullah. So she is asking for her rights in the court of the caliph, and she's been asked to present her evidences. Now, very, very serious point here on which your entire deen stands. Don't go on saying that, I know Fatima Salamullah is pure because my dad told me, my mom told me, my grandparents told me, Moulana told me. But you have to know why. What happens if she's not pure? First of all, this verse is unanimously agreed upon by the Muslims, right? I mentioned to you time and again. Now, if she is not pure, if she is considered to have some kind of risk of untruthfulness because her statement is not being accepted, that means what? That this ayat is wrong, right? That means what? It said that Allah removes all impurities the way it is the way you deserve to be purified, with a thorough purification. And now you say, no, I don't trust you, get me evidences. So what you're saying that ayat is incorrect, which means what? There is a mistake in the Quran, which means what? That means any book that has mistakes in a religion, that religion is not correct. So all of you who are believing in such a religion are on the incorrect religion. Entire foundation of the deen is shaking now. You see what I'm trying to say? So now you have to decide, what do you do about this? This is where I'm asking people to investigate. Where do you stand? How can you let the deen be on shaky foundation? If you're so sure that Allah's deen is correct and we are all going to Jannah, then tell us where this is coming from then. Because the truth is only one. Let me tell you one thing very clearly. In whatever walk of life we are, there's only one truth. Just as there's only one Siratul Mustaqim, the straight path. There cannot be more than one straight path, right? It can be angular, it can be diagonal, whatever, but it has to be one straight path, one truth. The falsehoods can be one or many, because falsehood needs support. So if there is one truth, then are we on the truth or not? We need to question our own beliefs and see where are we coming from to say that, our religion is the true religion. Where are we coming from? When we are challenging somebody who the Quran, which we all consider 0 to 100%, all of us consider is the true book, nothing has changed, nothing is tampered, nothing is incorrect, and it has been proven to be like that since the time it was written till time now. Everything is the same. The writing of the book, the words are the same. So if you are trying to deny Fatima Zahra and ask her to bring evidences, then you are challenging the ayat that you are incorrect, she is not pure, which is why I need some evidence from her. That's the first thing. Secondly, if you're challenging the verse, that means you're challenging the correctness of the Quran, and then everything becomes shaky. So that is one thing to keep in mind, and that is where I want people to investigate, to start investigation. And another thing that is there is that when Lady Fatima Salamullah Alayha was asking for the rights of Fadak, Fadak is a land which belonged to Fatima Zahra Salamullah. That is why she was in the court, that why are you taking away my rights? This belongs to me. Now, the question now, I go to the basics, to the base of the question. Everybody in the community said, oh, Fatima was not given Fadak and Fadak was taken away from Fatima. First of all, I want to question, how did Fatima Zahra Salamullah have control of her? Where did she get it from? If she had control of Fadak, then how did she get it? Then we say, okay, Rasulullah gave it to her. Everybody says, yeah, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave it to her. Okay, when you own a property, whether it's been gifted to you or you bought it and you can make it in your name, then the title deed of the property is in your name. The property is in your name. So you can prove it on paper by law that this is my property. And if it is my property and in my lifetime, I decide to give it to my daughter or anybody else, then no law in the world can take it away from that person. No law in the world can take it away from that person. Okay? So that is clear. So the next question becomes that, so we accept that if the title deed belonged to Rasulullah and he gave it to Fatima Zahra Salamullah alayha, then no law has the right to take it away from her. We talk about law here. By force or by, you send a few thugs and all that, you can take whatever from anybody for that matter. But then the court and the law will take its course and they'll catch the hoodlums and they put them into justice or into jail or fine or whatever they want. Anyway, so the question I want to ask is, did Rasulullah have the title deed of the property? Then he could give it to his daughter or anybody for that matter. Or did the property belong to the state of the Muslims, which is Medina, which was claimed that Prophet don't own anything, everything belongs to the state. But did it belong to the state? That's the other question. So if it belonged to the state, then what kind of a Rasul is that who takes away the property of the state and gives it to his own family members? Then the charge of serious nepotism will be labeled on that person, right? If I'm given something to take care of, and then I start distributing that one to all of you who are sitting here, and then the person says, hang on, who gave you the right to do that? We just gave it to you to take care of it. So if Rasulullah didn't own the property, he could not give it to his family members because he was pure as well. He was Sadiq and Amin. We all established that. Everybody established that. Sadiq and Amin, he was a truthful and trustworthy. He never made such a mistake in life, right from the time he started breathing. So He owned the property, he gave it to Fatima Zahra Salamullah. So it was not the Muslim state that owned the property. He owned the property and he gave it to his daughter. And no law should be allowed to take it. Anyway, that was taken. But she got witnesses. Who did she get? She get Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, right? Now, let's look back at it. The Muslims made the mistake, or shall I say mistake or not, but I'm saying it in that manner, that they made the mistake of appointing or requesting to be caliph at a certain point in history, right? And Ali ibn Abi Talib became the Khalifa of Muslims at the point. Now, in the list of Khalifa Rashidun, or the rightly guided caliph, Ali is also there amongst the first four. He's number 4. We all know that? Yeah, in history says that he's the fourth Khalifa. So we have one Khalifa Rashidun, or the one rightly guided caliph, giving evidence, and another apparently rightly guided caliph rejecting that evidence. Now we are in a conundrum. Human beings who are Muslims saying, hang on a second, this one is pure and that one is the rightly guided caliph. One is giving evidence and the other is rejecting it. So where do we turn to? Who do we follow? They're all Khalifa Rashidun. They're all good people. They are very correct people. So where do we turn to? Who do we follow? All these things, conundrums happen there and then. So that is where we have to consider what the ayat of Tathir says and see where the status of the Fatima Salamullah is. If her status is pure, there is no need for evidence. Her statement is enough. The other day, I was saying that, if Bibi Fatima Salamullah comes to your house and says, that belongs to me, and do I have the temerity to say to her, you get me evidence, this is yours, because I bought it. I got it from somewhere, wherever. I don't have the guts to say that. Because she's the purified one. If she says that is mine, then please, Bibi, take it. Take everything. Everything is yours in any case. You take everything. So here, she was standing in court. One, she went out and stood in court. And secondly, she brought witnesses who were supposedly purified, but their witness was rejected. So we are now in a conundrum where to go. So all this establishes the fact that there is a need for investigation in history, whatever you might say. Whether you accept it, you dislike it, you deny it, whatever. But if one group of people is raising these kind of arguments, and these seem to be solid arguments, then why don't we reinvestigate it, bring it out into the open and research what happened, and let's see, sift the wheat from the chaff, as they say in the proverb. So you get the good part one side and the bad part the other side. And then we are all clear. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now, this is, like I mentioned, a very, very serious issue where our deen sits on. If we do not address this properly, that means what? We are actually saying that the Quran might have had a mistake. Because Fatima is not pure in any case. Because her word was not trusted in the court of the caliph. I mean, I'm not talking about personalities here. I'm talking about the issues here, right? We're talking about the principles on what we are standing. We have a faith on a certain principle. That this is correct, and that is why we follow it. If it is not correct, we ignore it, we reject it. So if we have enough evidence to say that that lady is correct and pure, then why are we not listening to that lady? Why are we not giving her the due respect that she deserves? I mean, it's not the time where there was Bani Umayyah or Bani Abbas. There was no persecution at that time. There was no American weapons going there. There's no British, conspiracy from the secret services. There was no Zionist politics going around there. It was just a few days after the demise of Rasulullah from this world that she was out from her house addressing the caliph that you took my rights. And there she was challenged that, well, how do you prove that it is yours? There's a law in Islamic fiqh. The fiqh means the jurisprudence, the laws, which say that whatever you control in your hand, it is yours. And if somebody claims that it is not yours, then they have to prove that it is not yours. They have to prove that it is theirs. Because the one who controls it is known that it is theirs. So she owned the land, she had control over it. Her servants who used to work there were thrown out by the establishment, and then new people came and said, and our servants came back to her and said, hang on a second, we have been thrown out of our jobs. And that's when she asked for her rights to be given. She fought for the wilayat of Imam Ali alayhi salam in the court again, because not that she wanted her husband to rule over the Muslims, it is not easy. It's not, Rasulullah did not give rulership or kingship or wealth to Imam Ali alayhi salam when he announced him to be his deputy in Ghadir Khan. It is, he gave the guidance of the Muslim Ummah to Imam Ali alayhi salam. For guidance, to guide, you need to sacrifice. To lead, you need to sacrifice. You have to sacrifice your blood. You sacrifice your children. You sacrifice your wealth, your peace. You have to sacrifice by bearing the barbs of people's words. All these things happen. But these people thought it was about wealth and kingdom and all that stuff. So it is not about that. So that is one thing that we will set aside now. Now, another time, we are talking about Fatima Zahra Salaam today. Another time where when the deen was challenged, whether it is the truth or not, Rasulullah used her services to establish that the deen is the correct one. When a group of people came who were Christians and were discussing to him, why should we follow you? What is your deen and all that? And despite all the, logical arguments that Rasulullah gave, they did not believe in it. And then the verse came of Mubahala, which we call the verse of Mubahala. What is Mubahala? It is an act of invoking the curse of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the one who is a liar. That is a Mubahala. Right? So this was decided because the verse came that do a Mubahala with these guys and take your women and your children and your nafs to the Mubahala. So who did Rasulullah take? He took with him his daughter Fatima Zahra Salamullah. He took with him Imam Hussaini Islamic in his arm, and Imam Hassan Islam was walking holding the finger of Rasulullah. And then Imam Ali salam behind Fatima Salamullah. So these are the only 5 people who went to do the Mubahala. Why couldn't Rasulullah take anybody? Because he said, take your women, not woman, not one woman. Take your women included. So there were so many good women there. Not all women were bad, but you cannot guarantee the truthfulness, the 100% guarantee of truthfulness of everybody. Sometime or the other, you say a white lie in jokes, something like that. Sometime or the other, you must have done something wrong. But these people, Rasulullah could guarantee they were 100% truthful. 100% truthful. All those people, who on the day of the war of Battle of Khaybar, they were vying, they were praying that, when Rasulullah said that tomorrow I will give the standard to the one who Allah and Rasul love, and he loves Allah and the Rasul. Everybody was praying, that all the men in the battle suits and all that stuff were praying that Rasulullah will give it to me. But he gave it to Imam Ali alayhi salam. But that day everybody was trying to, or hoping that they will be considered. But on the day of Mubahala, nobody put their name forward. Why don't you take me? Because they themselves knew that it is not guaranteed that they have not told the truth. Because remember, the Mubahala is invoking the curse of Allah on the one who is a liar. If any touch of untruth is on anybody, he or she will be scared that Allah's lana is going to come on them. Allah will remove mercy from them. But these people were there to fight for the truthfulness of the religion. And Bibi Fatima Salamullah was the fulcrum of that place. And when the people who were there, the Christians who were there for the Mubahala as well, when they saw them, they said, no, we don't want to do any Mubahala. We don't want to do any Mubahala with these people. Because if these people raise their hands to God, these mountains will move as well. We do not want to do Mubahala with these people. And Rasulullah, he said, no, let's do it. He was not like that. He was very tolerant. He said, no, we don't want to do any Mubahala with you. We accept our defeat. So Rasulullah said, okay, accept the religion then. He said, no, we don't want to do that. Remember, La ikraha fi din. There is no pressure in religion. And Rasulullah said, okay, fine. If you don't want to accept the religion, there's another way out. What is it? Because Muslims pay zakat, their taxes to the government for all the amenities and the safety and all that. You guys don't have zakat because you don't follow Islam. So we will charge you a tax for your protection and safety and amenities in the city that you live in. So you come under the Muslim government, free to practice your religion, but you pay a certain tax. And they said, really? That's fine. So they said, how much? The next question. How much means? They were expecting some, maybe hundreds and thousands of dirhams or dinars or whatever it is. And Rasulullah gave them a nominal charge. This is how much you pay, the basic. And they were very happy. So there is no force in Islam as far as religion, accepting a religion or practicing a religion is concerned. If you see force by the rulers, by the kings and the sultans who claim to follow Islam, that is their religion. It is not the religion of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. This is not their way. They only spread the religion through love and through logical arguments. So this is where again Fatima salamullah alayha is the fulcrum of the truthfulness. And again the Hadith al-Kisa comes in where she is the fulcrum of the entire Hadith. You know, when Rasulullah came in the Hadith al-Kisa, when you narrate, I don't know if you understand what you're narrating or reading. When he came into the house, he said that I'm feeling a bit, weak. Can you get me the Yemeni cloak, please, for me, so that I can rest there? Now, if you have an elderly person who's coming to rest in your house, you make sure that the children don't scream. You make sure there's no loud noise and nobody's running around and disturbing them. Let them rest in peace for some time, And then it is when they're up and about again, then you go and talk and play with them, whatever. So, but as soon as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has gone to rest, we read that Imam Hassan alayhi salam, who was a little boy at that time, he comes in and he says, I smell the smell of my grandfather Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So there was a specific smell which is fragrant that people could feel for a long time. He came to his mother after salam and all that and said, I smell the smell of my grandfather. Is he around? He said, yeah, he's resting in under the cloak over there. He's over there. Bibi Fatima salamullah does not stop him. Don't disturb him. Your grandfather is resting. He's not feeling well. No. She said, yeah, he's there over there. He goes there and he asks permission to get into the cloak. And then again, a few minutes later, Imam Hussaini Islamic comes and does the same thing. But I smell the smell of my grandfather. And she said, yeah, he's there with your brother over there. You can go there. He goes, he asks permission to go in there. Now, this is very common when, we have grandchildren, especially little ones. They like to be with the grandparents. They want to be with the elderly people, they're old and they feel very important. The youngsters, little ones, they are always in the company of their grandfather and they want to have tea with their grandfather and they enjoy the company of being with them in their own blanket, especially if it's in the cold weather and all that. In the mornings or late in the evenings, they want to be in the same blanket as their grandfather, grandmother, all that. It happens, everybody's common thing, where grandparents show their love to the grandchildren by keeping them together with them and all that. That is fine. The two children were there. But what happened to Rasulullah's son-in-law? He's a grown man. When he comes in and he says to his wife, I smell the smell of my brother, Rasulullah. And he's there with the two sons over there. So he goes there. He asks permission to go into the cloak as well. And Imam Ali is a grown man, alayhi salam. So that means what? This is not just one gathering that is happening. There's something special about it. Because they're all gathering under the cloak. And when all four of them are there, and Lady Fatima comes along last, as like a chief guest comes along last when the thing is about to start, and the chief guest arrives, and everybody is like, oh, come on in there. And she seeks permission, and she goes in the cloak as well. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is now, he's not feeling any weak anymore. And he's doing du'as under the cloak. But what does it signify? It could be a possibility that he is not feeling physical weakness. It was a spiritual sense to say that I'm not weak. Now I've got these parts of me who will be my supporters in my deen. So now he's feeling the strength already. And he prays to Allah, these are my Ahlul Bayt. And he does dua, this, that, dua, all that you read in the Hadith al-Kisa all the time. And the fact that, I'm friends with those who love them and I'm at war with those who are at war with them and purify them, Rasulullah says, and Allah says, that ayat comes in to say that, purified with a thorough purification. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells his angels, I created everything for these people. For these people. I created everything, anything that is there exists for these people. And Jibril Amin, who is the Archangel Gabriel, Jibril, he says, who are these people? He's questioning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who are these people? Come on, if you go there morning and evening every time to that particular house, you should know where you're going to, right? You should know, right? But he's still asking, who are these people? Jibril is coming morning and afternoon in the same house. Sometimes he's sending wahi to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sometimes he's playing with the children. Whatever it is, he's coming and informing Rasulullah of certain things, all that stuff. But he's asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who are these people? If I asked you, who are the five? Can any of you name them? Who are they? No? You can? You know the names, right? But what are the names? Who are these people that Jibreel is asking about? Who are they? That's where you failed. That's where you failed. You didn't actually, yes? That's where you failed. You failed in the order, not the names. No. Allah says, when Jibreel asks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who are these people? He says, Fatima, wa abuha, wa baruha, wa banuha. So Fatima is the fulcrum of all this. She's the base, she's the locus. Fatima, her father, her husband, her two children. They are there. Who are these people? So this is what it is. This is we see the greatness of Fatima salamullah alayha. And now history is trying to tell her that you're just one of the beings not responding. They're seeing in history that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying that she is part of me. Lots of people that say, oh, you're my heart, you're my this, and all that. But when a Masoom says something about somebody, that means it is true. There is no exaggeration. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying that Fatima is part of me. He's not saying as a matter of love that, oh, you are my heart, you're my flesh and blood. No. Saying you're part of me. What does that mean? It means that she is part of his risalat as well. He is part of his membership. She is part of his messengership as well. Not just the genetical part that she is just because she's a daughter. So she has a status that people need to understand who is it. Which is why in our hadith it is mentioned that Fatima salamullah is a secret of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which we haven't understood. And that is something that we need to try and work ourselves to get closer to the Ahlul Bayt. We need to have more understanding of them. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that she is Sayyidatun Nisa al-Alameen, which we say all the time. What does that mean? That means that she's the leader of all women in Jannah. Sayyidah, leader, and Nisa, women, Alameen, all the worlds, not just the Alam. Alam is one. Alameen is all the worlds. She's the leader of the. Look at her status, and you are trying to make her into one of us. It's not right. May Allah give us the tawfiq to work and understand who these people are. When Jibreel Amin couldn't understand who are we, right? Jibreel Amin could not understand who are these people. He's asking Allah, who are these people? It's not that he hadn't seen them. He's seen them time and again. But he didn't. So we have no way to understand the reality of these people. We can try and get closer and closer to the realities. And maybe, inshallah ta'ala, when Imam alayhi salam reappears, with the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he'll explain to us the real status of the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. May we live to see that day and be part of his army and it's part of his mission, inshallah ta'ala. Our being part of his mission starts from now, not when he comes in. When he comes in, we have to implement whatever we are doing. We have to be part of the mission from now. As I was discussing with some brothers the other day, what we can do to start now. And we can discuss later on as well. So I end now, and tomorrow we shall discuss about Imam Ali alayhi salam and try to explore the credentials of Imam Ali alayhi salam to be a purified one as well. I will end with a little masayib about the contribution of Imam Hassan alayhi salam in Karbala. When Imam Hassan alayhi salam was martyred, he died being poisoned by his wife, Jauda bint Asad. She poisoned him in such a manner that his insides were being vomited out by Imam Hassan alayhi salam, the older brother of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Imam Hassan vomited his stuff, and Imam Hussain was trying to hide all the stuff, all the blood and all the gore that was coming out from his inside, and so that his Bibi Zainab, his sister, did not see that. They had so much care about their sister that that she sees that she'll be upset, she'll be shocked at that. And Imam Hassan alayhi salam was bleeding, vomiting blood all the time when he was in that state of poison till he passed away. And then Imam Hussain alayhi salam was crying. And Imam Hassan said to him, "Don't cry, Abu Abdullah, don't cry. There is no day like your day, the day of Ashura." And on the day of Ashura, when people have been dying everywhere, a small band of people are sacrificing themselves for the sake of the deen, for the sake of the Imam of the time. Then a little boy who is 13 years old is seeking permission from his uncle. You know, the son of Imam Hassan alayhi salam, Qasim, was a very little wee boy when Imam Hassan passed away. And Imam Hussain alayhi salam brought up his nephew. In this household, there is a tradition of bringing up nephews. Muttalib brought up Abdul Muttalib, who was his nephew, the grandfather of Rasulullah. And then Abu Talib brought up Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Bibi Zainab salamullah alayhi brought up Ali Akbar, the son of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. And Imam Hussain alayhi salam brought up Qasim after the death of his brother Imam Hassan alayhi salam. And there he was on the day of Ashura seeking permission from Imam Hussain alayhi salam to go and fight the battle. And Imam Hussain was saying, "No, my dear son, no, you cannot go. You are the sign of my brother. You are the only sign of my brother. How can I let you go into the battlefield?" And then he opened up a letter from a tabiz that his father had given, an amulet that his father has given at the time of when he was dying, Imam Hassan alayhi salam, and told him, "Open this amulet on the day when you are in severe crisis." And Qasim thought, there's no bigger crisis than this day that we have now. No water, no food, people dying everywhere. My uncle needs help. So he opened up that tabiz and he read from there and he was happy. This little boy of 13 years old is happy that with this letter, he has a chance to be given permission by his uncle. So he runs to his uncle and he says, "Look this, uncle, look, this is my father's letter to you. I have got this in front of you." And in that, Imam Hassan alayhi salam is asking Imam Hussain to let his son be his representative on the day of Ashura. And this is a boy of 13 years old. And Imam Hussain alayhi salam is in tears. It is said in the hadith that Imam Hussain cried the most when giving permission to Qasim ibn al-Hassan. He did not cry as much for anybody going to battle, but he cried a lot for Qasim, so much that he fainted in the desert of Karbala. And then he gave him permission. When he gave him permission, the boy was so young, his foot, when he sat him on the horse, his foot not reached the stirrups where you put the feet over there. The armor that you had was not small enough to fit that little boy. There was no proper armor for that size of a boy. He did not have any armor. And Imam alayhi salam sat him on the horse and sent him. And when he started fighting, there was a brave warrior from Sham named Azra. And Umar ibn Sa'd said, "Azra, go and kill him. This boy is coming, go and kill him." And Azra said, "What, I'm going to fight a boy? I'll send my son to fight him." He sent one son. Qasim killed him away. He sent his second son. Qasim sent him to Jahannam as well. He sent his third son. Qasim killed him as well. And Azra was furious with rage. And he came to fight Qasim himself, that you are killing my sons. He came to fight Qasim. Qasim killed Azra as well. And there was a big, a chaos in the army of Ibn Sa'd. See that this boy, who is not even tall enough to reach the stirrups of the horse, he's fighting so bravely. Who is this? And they said, he is the grandson of Ali. You cannot beat him in 1-to-1 battle. Surround him and kill him all together. And they did exactly that. Somebody hit him from behind and he was unbalanced on the horse and fell down. And he screamed for his uncle, "Ya Ummah, please come and help me." And Imam Hussain alayhi salam is running towards the battle. Remember, horses, after everybody died, everything had finished, horses ran on the dead bodies of all the people who were there, lying dead. But there was only one person whom the horses trampled when he was alive, and that was Qasim, the son of Imam Hassan alayhi salam. that little boy, when he fell down from the horse, he was lying, and because there was so much chaos in the army, the horses are running from left to right and right to left, and they were trampling the little tender body of the 13-year-old Qasim. And Imam Hussaini Islam, hearing his cries, he ran to the battlefield, removing anybody who came in his way, and he reached Qasim. And by the time Imam Hussaini Islam came to Qasim, he saw that his nephew had left this world and his body was smashed into pieces because the horse's hoof had trampled the little boy, who was not even wearing an armor because the armor was not, small enough to fit him. Allah lanatullah ala qawmi zalimin. وَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا أَيَّ مُنْقَلِبٍ يَنْقَلِبُونَ. May Allah accept this small ibadah from all of us and give us the marifah and the understanding to learn more about the Ahlul Bayt and the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the sacrifices and the efforts they made for the deen to reach us in the correct form. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. صلوات على محمد وعلى محمد. صلى الله عليه وسلم. Bismillah. Bismillah, brothers.
सकीना तो मेरे जान तो रहाई मिली चलो घर चले सकीना तो मेरे जान तो रहाई मिली चलो घर चले सकीना तो मेरी जान तो रहाई मिली चलो घर चले कहती थी माला हर का मेरे लाडली चलो घर चले सकीना तो मेरी जान तो रिहाई मेरी चलो घर चले सकीना तो मेरी जान तो रिहाई मेरी चलो घर चले यहाँ से चलो चले करबला वही से तुम्हें मिलेंगे चाचा सितम जो हुए बताना ने दिखाना ने ये करता चला चाचा जाने को दिखाना चला विदा हूँ बड़ी चलो घर चले सकीना तो मेरी जान तो रिहाई मिली चलो घर चले बताना नी कभी सकतिया मिली जिस कदर तुझे दिल किया हमारे दालती किस तरह चनी जिस तरह तेरी बारिया बताना ने मुझे किस तरह तेरी कृष्ण जी चलो घर चले सकीना तो मेरी जान तुम रिहाई मेरी चलो घर चले बदन से मिलो तुझे जो भी बताना उन्हें बहुत रोई हो कसम लो अगर तुम्हारे बिना सकीना कभी कहीं कोई हो लाद बाप की मिली जब तुझी तो कहना यही चलो घर चले सकीना तो मेरी जान तुम रिहाई मेरी चलो घर चले मगर एक माँ तो करना होगा तेरी माँ जे अभी तस्वा मेरे प्यास पर हुए को पिता चचा से मेरी है बाजू कहा अश्क है कहा है अलम कहा है जरी चलो घर चले सकीना तो मेरी जान तो रिहाई मेरी चलो घर चले वही भूखा ये रोता काफिला विदाओं के बिन उतर जाएगा तुझे पाएंगी तू सवेरा तेरी तू बीमार हो मिलेंगे दुआ गले में बिके बहुत रोएंगे वो बहना तेरी वो गले حسين الغريب الغريب الحسين حسين الشهيد شهيد الحسين حسين الغريب الغريب الحسين حسين الشهيد الشهيد الحسين حسين الغريب الغريب الحسين حسين الشهيد الشهيد الحسين Salams on the head of my Mawla Hussain. Salams on the lips of my blessed Hussain. For days in the desert your body remained. The thousands of hours your shroud they became. And on Arbaeen were the million who pray. The grief and the mourning for you, Ya Hussain. Hussain al-Gharib, al-Gharib, al-Hussain. حسين الشهيد الشهيد الحسين حسين الغريب الغريب الحسين حسين الشهيد الشهيد الحسين A lady was seen peering out from the tent, a cry from the heavens as the harp began. Oh shimmer, why on the chest? The sword stained in blood was Hussein's final test. Hussein, to your mother, it's time to ascend. The trials in Karbala have come to an end. Hussain al-Gharib, al-Gharib, al-Hussain. Hussain al-Shaheed, al-Shaheed, al-Hussain. The screams of the children that came for water. The duty was sent to Abbas, our savior. The Lion of God could be seen riding faster to reach Al-Furat and to plead his Sakina. But how does he fall from the horse with no hands? The flag of Islam laying bare on the sand. Hussain al-Gharib, al-Gharib, al-Hussain. حسين الشهيد الشهيد الحسين اللهم صل السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين السلام عليك يا حسن بن المجتبى السلام عليك يا حسين شهيد بكربلاء السلام عليك يا حضرة عباس يا ابن أمير المؤمنين السلام عليك يا تمام شهداء كربلاء وسيران كربلاء ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام عليك يا صاحب الأجر والزمان الأمان 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 من فتنة الزمان السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن السلام عليك يا قاتل القرآن السلام عليك يا مظهر الإيمان السلام عليك يا إمامنا وإمام الإنس والجان أجل الله تعالى فرجا وسهل الله تعالى مخرجا ظهورا ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كل وليك الحجة بن الحسن صلواتك عليهم وعلى آبائهم في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا.